627 school year. And what I'm going to show you first is exactly how to tag the standards that you want, because if you don't know how to do that properly, then your standards tracker isn't going to accurately reflect the standards that you want to be tracking. So in your lessons, and probably most of you've already seen this, but you have the standards card in your lessons, and you click on search and add standards to tag your standards to your lesson. If you don't have a standards card in your lesson, like if you deleted it out of the template for some reason, you can always add it back. So you can do that by clicking on the little add card button at the bottom of your lesson, and then you can add a standard search card. So that's how you add one if you don't currently have that in your lesson template, but automatically the lesson template should have a standards card, but if you need to add one in, that's how you can do it. If you want to add it into your template, you just go to Settings, Templates, you can customize, and then you can add that standards card here. That way it will automatically show up in all of your lessons. Okay, so you have this card here. You will see that you can click on the search and add standards. What you will see first is these options. So you can choose from states, organizations. There's also some specific schools and districts that have their own standards here. So if you're one of those, then you would click that here. But for the majority of people, it's under states or organizations. So if you live in Alabama and you teach art, you have all of these options here. So let's say that you teach music grade 5. You can search for keywords. I don't know, what might you search for as a music teacher? No, nothing there. Maybe tenor. Does that pop up? No. You can search for keywords. You know what to search for if you were a music teacher. What's one that's in there? Purpose. How about that? So you could type in a keyword, they pop up if you want to, if you're searching for something specific. But otherwise, all of the standards are listed there. And then all you have to do is just click that little plus for as many standards as you want for that lesson, close and return, and there your standards are tagged. In the lesson, you have the little stars over here. That is for whatever purpose you want it to be. The star doesn't do anything specific other than it notes a standard for you. So you can unstar it and star it. I know when I was teaching, at least the past couple years I was teaching, we were working on like priority standards. Like these were the standards that we guaranteed that our students were going to like master. So if you have like guaranteed priority standards that you're working on, maybe you want to star those in your lesson just to note that for yourself. Or maybe if you're sharing your plans with admin and you want those to stand out, that's a good way of doing that. Also, if you click on a standard, it expands it so you can see the whole standard in your lesson and then click it again to bring it back to normal. And then you can copy and paste standards right over into other cards and other lessons. Individual standards, you can also copy this whole standards card and paste it into the next day if you need to. If you go in to the search and add standards button again, you can always go back and change to a different set if you need to. So maybe you are also teaching, go back to art, you're teaching dance grade 3. You can pull those up and tag those. If you want to pull up more than one standard set side by side, then you just click the side by side view over here, and then you can pull up the other sets that you need side by side. I know a lot of times what I've heard from teachers, and I definitely would have used this because I taught English language learners, was they have their content standards over here, and then like the ELL standards on this side, because you need to put both. You might need to put both standards from both of those sets in your lessons. So you could pull up more than one, and then you can select standards from multiple sets by using the side-by-side view. Okay, so I do have some standards tagged here. I've got a bunch. There is standards tagged in other lessons throughout this plan book. So Now I'm going to show you how the standards tracker works. So I'm going to click on the standards tracker. Over on the left, these are all of the classes or the courses that you have in your plan book. So in this demo plan book, there's a 6th grade science class, science period 2, and a science period 3. You want to click on the course that you want to track the standards of right now. So I'm going to click on 6th grade science. Then you'll see a drop down of all of the sets that are within that 6th grade science class. So this makes more sense. The Maryland Science, grade 6, 7, and 8. But you'll also see those Alabama Art Standards because I just added those in there. So all 4 of these sets are present within this class. So then what you want to do is click on the set that you want to track. So I'm going to click on the science. And then over here, this is where you can see on the list of all of the standards. And then on the right, you see how many lessons that standards was taught in and the specific lessons and dates that it was taught. And you can click on that to pull up that specific lesson if you want to. And then you can just keep scrolling. So this standard here was taught in 20 lessons. These are all of the dates and the specific lessons that that standard is taught in. And you can scroll down to view. And this is a good way that you can kind of look at if there is any standards that you are missing, if there's a standards you've covered a lot and you're like, maybe we don't need to cover those ones anymore. Also, a better way to do that, if you just want to see what standards you haven't covered yet, then you can filter. So you can hide the standards that have been covered. So click that. Now you're only going to see what's 0 out of 1. So these standards have not been covered in your lessons, but all the other ones have, at least at some point. So if you're kind of doing maybe an audit on yourself, maybe, every few months, this would be a good way to do that. You could click that hide standards so then you can see, okay, I still have these 3 standards left to make sure that I plan in my plan book. And this reflects, the standards tracker reflects the standards that are tagged in your lessons in your whole plan book. So if you are like now is, let's go to today. So today is August 17th. But in this plan book, this teacher has got like their whole year planned out. So when this person goes to the standards tracker, it's reflecting all the lessons they've got planned out for their whole year. So in their year in this plan book, this teacher doesn't have these planned yet, so she might want to add those in. Okay, so then once you get done with that 6th grade science class, you want to go check on period 2. You can select them both at the same time, and that's going to reflect both of the classes combined. But if you're only wanting to check period 2, then unselect that 6th grade science. And now I'm just looking at my period 2. This is the standard set that is tagged in that class. I'm going to click on that. And then you can see they're all 0 because in this plan book for science period 2, if we go back to the week view and we go to science period 2, there's no lessons there. There isn't even any standards tagged. So that's why it's showing 0 out of 1. But if there was standards there, this is how you could check it, unselect that, and then go to your period 3. And then it shows you this class doesn't have lessons with standards. So it will tell you that if there isn't any tagged. Okay, from the standards tracker view, you do have the ability to print a report. So if you want to print a 6th grade science class report of what you haven't covered of the Maryland Science grade 6 to 8 science standards, then you just pull that up, you click print. You can name it whatever you want. So you could say like standards report for your class, and then you can print it, print or download if you want to just send it to someone. And then you have that information in a standards coverage report. Let's go back, and then you could do the same thing if you uncheck the ones that have been covered and you want to print off a report of everything that has, then you can print that. I'll show you what that one looks like. Print that. And then there you go. And you can print or download to send this to someone. You can also share it. So you can share a link to the standards page by emailing it to someone, copying the link, and then emailing it to someone, or downloading the QR code. You will see you have these two options. The first one is to share a link to your whole plan book. But if you're just trying to share this standards report with someone, then just make sure you click only show the standards tracker. And then let me show you what the email looks like. So if you are sharing this with an admin or a co-teacher, I don't know, whoever you'd want to share the standards report with, type in their emails, and then you can update this message to whatever you want and then send them the email and they'll be able to view it. And it is a view only link, so they won't be able to go into other parts of your plan book or edit things. All right, let me see if I am missing anything here. Other thing I wanted to mention about the standards is that if we are missing any standards that you need, you can tell us and then we can work on getting those updated. So if you go back to, let's say you're in Alabama, these are all of the subjects that we have for Alabama. But if we are missing something, then you can click on this button here. So didn't find what you're looking for, we can add your standards for you. So you click on that. And then it is just a form. Fill this out. And then this will submit it to me. I'll check over it. I'll reply back if I have any questions. And then if not, though, I'll get those submitted for entry. And then we'll get those put into Common Planner for you. And you will get email updates during the process. Like these have been submitted, these are entered, all of that stuff. So you can stay up to date. Just a note, though, we do add like state standards, National Education Organization standards. We add all of those for free. If they are like specific school standards, like specific to your school, or if it's not like a national organization, then you can add those yourself. And that is in the Common Standards project. I'll show you what that looks like. So you can create and edit standards here, get started, and then it just shows you how to do it. So if you have unique or specific standards for your school or a different organization that's not like a state or national organization, those can definitely still be added into Common Planner. You just add them here and then you submit them and then I will approve them and then they'll be available for you in your plan book.